everyone, this is One Half Hamster, and today we are going to be taking a look at Battlefield Hardline. It's currently in open beta, so every one of you is able to go to Origin right now, and then just go ahead and download it. I think it's a little bit under 10 gigabytes, and then you're just free to play until it closes, which I'm actually not entirely positive when that is. I'll be honest, I kind of came into the beta expecting to completely hate on it. From the moment it was announced, I thought it instantly was just a Battlefield 4 mod made into a retail game, and that's about it. And those thoughts, in my opinion, aren't completely unfounded. I mean, if you even just watch this for a minute, you can tell that if Battlefield 4 was open for modding, some talented modders probably could have created this entire game using mostly assets from Battlefield 4. But we're going to look at this in the same way that I do my reviews. We're going to take a look at presentation first, and then we'll take a look at the gameplay. And then we'll take a look at the audio and video, and then we'll take a look at performance. I will be honest, the first three segments are going to be rather short, and this is mostly because if you've ever played Battlefield 3 or Battlefield 4, then you already have a pretty good idea of what all of those aspects entail. But we'll start with presentation. The first thing you'll notice is, once again, the absolutely dreadful battle log system is how you'll be entering games once again. I know that this is something that's never going to go away, but I wish it would. It's an absolute pain in the ass to be in the game and then have to go to a web browser that requires a plugin update all the freaking time, just so that I can get into a server completely outside of the game. I don't know, maybe some people like it, but personally I wish that it was all just completely in-game, the server browser and everything. But once you're in the game, you'll see that pretty much nothing else is really different from Battlefield 3 or 4 either. As you can see back there, it's the same system of up at the top there's a line. Oh, here I died, so I can show you. I'll be dying a lot. I am absolutely terrible at this game. Okay, so as you can see right here, it's pretty much the same. You've got your loadouts here. You can deploy as these. The hacker is the commander, essentially. And yeah, so here we have our 4 classes that Battlefield has had for a while now. And you can choose your squad mates to spawn on. And so yeah, I mean, it's pretty much exactly like Battlefield 4 and 3. So let me show you this. This also is pretty much exactly like Battlefield 4. We'll see these menus again in a bit when we talk about performance. But for now, I just wanted to show you that really nothing has changed. So I'm actually a big fan of the setting. I always preferred Battlefield's urban environments, which I know is definitely a minority opinion because they're not nearly as open as like a lot of the outside environments are, and like the big mountaintop ranges and stuff. But I don't know, I've always just found the urban environments to be a lot more fun. There's a lot more room for maneuverability and getting away from people, whereas out in the open, if you're seen, you're pretty much dead, which maybe that's just really proof right there of how much I absolutely suck at Battlefield games most of the time. So yeah, basically, once again, if you've ever played Battlefield 3 or 4, you've already seen pretty much all the presentation has to offer you. So then let's look at the gameplay. The gunplay feels the exact same as it has the past two games. It's nice and tight in my opinion. I've always liked the Battlefield gunplay. So it quickly snaps to. The guns feel responsive. And there are 3 different modes that you can play on the beta. This right here is Heist, which is what I'm assuming is probably going to be the main mode for Battlefield. It's kind of like Capture the Flag, but with some more payday elements to it. Because you are, if you're the criminals, you are tasked with crashing through a vault with C4 and then taking loot and then bringing it to a helicopter. So yeah, if you've ever played Payday 2, then you pretty much know how that goes. You need to like set the C4, get yourself inside of the vault, all that. And if you are the cops, of course, you are tasked with making sure that they aren't able to do it. So yeah, pretty much exactly what you would expect. The nice thing, once I'm out of the screen, I'll be able to show you, but I'll start talking about it. If you've seen in the right side, when you do stuff, you are given cash. One of the things I hated the most about Battlefield 3 and 4 were the fact that if a gun that I had had a scope that I really, really wanted, then I had to grind to get it. Well, now, what's really nice is rather than do that, you earn cash and you buy the scope that you want. And the same goes for gadgets. And also the same goes for melee weapons, which are actually a little bit more fun than they have been in the past, rather than just getting 5,000 different types of knives, which apparently that's what it becomes down here. But you know, you get a baseball bat up here, lead pipe up here. I'm sure it does absolutely nothing but just change the looks of it. But overall, that's a pretty appreciated change, because I personally was getting sick of grinding through a weapon just to get to the point where I could actually use it the way I wanted to. But yeah, it's really, the gameplay in general is no different than it has been in Battlefield 3 or 4. But I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I rather like the Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 formula for gameplay. The other 2 game modes, well, the first one is Conquest Large. I won't really talk much about that one because pretty much everyone watching this video probably knows exactly what Conquest is. It's been the main Battlefield mode for a damn long time. And oh shit, that still happens. Okay. The other mode that is available is called Hotwire, and in my opinion it's probably the most interesting mode in certain ways. I don't particularly enjoy it, but it is definitely different than really much else that I've ever played in a Battlefield game. Think about it, a game of conquest, but rather than you needing to raise flags, you are required... oh shit. You are required to get into a high-speed vehicle and drive it around. And you need to continue to drive this vehicle around, and the faster you're driving it, the faster you deplete your enemy team's tickets. It's a very interesting concept. I don't like it. It's most likely because I'm absolutely terrible at driving, so I'm actually pretty much worthless. Granted, all of you watching me here are probably thinking you don't seem to be worth a whole lot in this mode either, which that is fair. It's about 10% because I'm talking while playing, and 90% the fact that I'm just really terrible. So yeah, that's about it for gameplay. The audio and video, once again, exactly what you'd expect. The visuals look nice, especially for being in beta, but if it's the way most betas have been lately, then I assume that the game is actually pretty close to being done, and this is about final what we're seeing, which is fine. It looks good. On par with all the other recent Battlefield games, I would easily say. And the audio is just as good. The guns sound meaty. They pack a punch, and they sound like most of them were ripped directly from Battlefield 4, which sounded like most of them were ripped directly from Battlefield 3. But that's fine. They still sound great. I don't know. I believe that it's actually part of the game, but one of the announcers sounds incredibly garbled when he's talking, but I think it's trying to give you the sense of you're on a radio with them. I'm not entirely sure, but I don't know. If that's the way they want it, then it doesn't really hurt the game at all, but if it is a bug, I've encountered it. But yeah, I mean, that's really all I have to say about the audio and the video. It looks nice, just like the past few Battlefield games have, and it sounds nice, just like the past few Battlefield games have. Alright, so we'll talk about performance here. Let me open this up real quick to show you. Here are the video options we have. Pretty much the exact same as Battlefield 4. You can put your FOV all the way up to 120, which is always appreciated. You can also super sample within the game. It'll basically do the same thing as what DSR does with NVIDIA, but now this allows AMD cards to do it as well, which is greatly appreciated. And then here's all your quality, of course. I have everything set to Ultra except for I do have anti-aliasing post-off. I don't think that the marginal benefits to the looks it gives are worth the slight bit of latency you also get. As of right now, 4 times MSAA is the highest you can get for anti-aliasing, but that's fine. It works perfectly well. You can choose between SSAO and HBAO. HBAO, in my opinion, looks a little bit better, so I'm perfectly fine with the hit that I'm getting to performance, because other than the very first round I played, I have yet to dip under 60 frames per second. I have the shadow play counter right up at the top, and I pretty much stay in between 80 to 95. Sometimes it'll dip down to 70. I think other than the first round when it dipped down to 55 a couple of times, the furthest I've actually seen it dip down is 63. So I've remained above 60 frames per second the entire time. If you've seen any of my reviews, then you know that I have an i5 3570K and a GTX 970 and 8 gigabytes of RAM, which is a fairly decent rig in my opinion. I mean, it's not the highest end. Oh, here we go. Now I'm dipping a little bit below 60, probably because of the tear gas. I'm at 58 right now, yep, and as soon as the tear gas is gone, I'm back up to 72. So there you go. Tear gas will dip your frame rates. But yeah, and so it's above what the minimum and recommended specs are, but if you'll allow me to rant just a little bit here, minimum and recommended specs really don't mean anything anymore. By minimum, do they mean that you can run the game at 800 by 600 with the lowest graphics settings? By recommended, do they mean 720p at 30 frames per second? We never know. And it's been getting worse and worse as the years go on. And honestly, I think that people who participate in stuff like this, or early adopters of games, really should be active on the forums, saying exactly what kind of performance they're getting with their setup. It's really about the only way anymore to tell what kind of performance other people are going to be getting, because developers surely are not doing a great job of letting us know themselves. So in my opinion, I think that if you play this beta, you need to find some kind of forum, whether it be Reddit or another one that you're a part of, and start talking about performance, because it's a little bit unfair to people who their graphics cards are right in the middle of minimum and recommended, and then they can't even run the game the way that you would expect. It's just a very shady practice in my opinion, and there's not a whole lot of developers who give you appropriate specs anymore, and really none of them tell you what their specs even mean anymore. So I guess to summarize my rant, make sure you talk about performance, because the developers aren't. So I guess that pretty much hits on all the aspects of this beta. Like I said, it's free to download on Origin, and I don't know when it's running to. But yeah, I mean, you can try it out for yourself, see if it's something you enjoy. At the end of it all, I would say that if you're really invested in Battlefield 4 or Battlefield 3, and you really don't want to invest $60 plus the extra $60 just to get the little map packs that'll come out in a few months and whatnot, then don't. Battlefield 3, I mean, well, even further than that, Battlefield 1942 is still very easy to find a game on. Battlefield 3, that's got a huge following yet. Whether you have the DLC or not, you're able to find games fairly easily yet. I expect Battlefield 4 will be the same way. So if what you see here, or if what you play when you download it, don't seem like they're worth $60 to you, then there's definitely no reason to get it. If you don't have any Battlefield games and this looks interesting to you, this entry is just as good as any other as far as I can tell. Of course, that's not an opinion that can be made solely off of the beta, but I've been fairly happy with it, and I've played a good amount of Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. It's basically just cops and robbers Battlefield. So my recommendation would be that if you're willing to spend the money to stay current, you probably won't be disappointed in this game. But if you would rather just stick with what's currently out there, then you'll be just as happy. You're really not missing much. It's basically the same. When the biggest improvement is the fact that you no longer have to grind through weapons and you can spend cash on it instead. In-game cash, of course, not microtransactions. There's really no reason to go get it as soon as it comes out. I do plan on getting it simply to review it and, I don't know, maybe play it some with some commentary. But yeah, there's absolutely no reason that you would need it. I stand by what I said, in which if Battlefield 4 was open for modding, then Modders probably could have used mostly assets from that game to build this. So that's about all I have to say about Battlefield Hardline at this point in time. This is probably the last time that I will talk about it until the game is actually released, unless something comes up like a delay or something nefarious, which happens all too often, unfortunately. Don't forget to like and comment on the video. Let me know what you thought. Don't forget to talk about the performance in a public forum of some sort. And also be sure to subscribe for more news, commentary, and reviews. And later today, I will be having my Game of Thrones Episode 2 review come out. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Thank you for watching.